Hey there, Hofstra fans. Welcome to another episode of Blue and Gold Weekly. I'm your host, Kevin Dexter. Well, it was a tough week for both Hofstra basketball teams as they both went winless in CAA play. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. We'll start with the men who began the week on Thursday night at Stony Brook, where Preston Edmeade had another strong game. The freshman posted his second straight game of 20 or more points and his fourth this season. He finished with 22. The Pride were down 7 at halftime. Cruz Davis came alive in the second half. He finished with 16 points, including the 1,000th point of his career. Hofstra, though, could not come back all the way. They fell 76-71. On Saturday at home, it was a high-scoring affair against Elon, and Cruz Davis had another monster day. 33 points for the junior, his third game of 30 or more this season. And it was a breakout day for Joshua Decady, a career-high 21 points, including 4 made three-pointers. He had just 3 made threes the entire season before Saturday, but the Pride fell short in that one as well, 89-85. They'll try to bounce back on the road this week. Thursday, they play at North Carolina A&T before paying a visit to William & Mary on Saturday. Well, the Hofstra women dropped a pair of home games this week. On Friday, the star was Sandra Magalico. The Pride center posted her second consecutive double-double and her third of the season with 14 points and 12 rebounds. The Pride fell to Stony Brook 61-44. And on Sunday, the Pride were led by a big game from Chloe Sterling. She had a season-high 20 points, the third game of 20 or more in her Hofstra career. Sterling made 3 three-pointers, while Alarise Gooden chipped in 14 points. But it was not enough, as Hofstra fell to Northeastern 62-60. This weekend, the Pride head down to Towson for an 11 a.m. tip on Friday before returning home to take on William & Mary on Sunday. Well, the start of the Hofstra men's lacrosse season is less than 2 weeks away. The Pride will return coming off a season in which they lost in the CAA semifinals. Last week, I had the chance to sit down with head coach Seth Tierney for a season preview. Seth Tierney is entering year number 20 as the head coach here at Hofstra. Coach, thanks as always for a couple minutes. How was the off season? How are you guys getting ready here for 2026?
Yeah, off season was good. The fall, enjoyed it. I thought the guys played hard. I thought they came back with a little bit of an edge. I thought they felt like there was some movement last year, some positive movement last year, even though it ended in a disappointing overtime loss to Towson. I thought they carried that into the summer, and we got back on campus. Good leadership, a good mix of experience and freshmen. I thought we moved the needle a little bit in the fall. Had a couple of events, scrimmaged at the Headstrong event. We got a chance to go against LIU and Brown, excuse me, and then Navy the following week. So this is the first time that we did 2 different weekends of scrimmages in the fall. And then my favorite part of that at that time is the individual work after that. It's almost backwards, right? We should have the individual work then the fall, but because of weather and things like that, we do it backwards, and I thought that the guys took it really seriously, which was great. Got a little time off and started up.
Well, you mentioned last year, so 8-7 overall, 4-3 in the conference. Of course, the tough end that you mentioned in that semifinal game against Towson. What are you taking away from last year? Obviously, you have a lot of guys coming back, so what are you taking away from last year?
Yeah, I like what's coming back. We're going to miss some guys, obviously, that graduated. Not happy. None of us are of the record towards the end, right? A couple of really close losses. We need to flip the script on that. And a little change up in our conference with Delaware not being in it, so that changes the dynamics of a few things. And again, we'll be scrapping. But I like Shea had a good year in the goal, but. I don't know if many people know John Singer was named the starting goalie, and then a couple days before had tore his ACL in practice. And Dan Dorshevsky, another a guy that redshirted last year. So for a coach, we've got good goalie problems. We're looking forward to seeing that. Older on defense, right? So I liked some of that leadership there. A little bit younger on offense, but with good energy. So we'll see how it goes. We have to pick it up a little bit at the face-off X, but the guys are working hard.
Oh, we'll start there with the offense. So last year, you guys were very balanced. You had 6 guys with at least 34 points. Everybody in that attack unit, the first midfield unit, seemed like you never know whose day it was going to be, who was going to have the big day. How can you kind of carry over that balance and distribution?
Yeah, that was a very cool stat, especially as a coach, that you have a balanced offense. The one stat that's better than that is that you just have one more goal than every other team that you play, regardless of who scores. So we celebrated that we're sharing the ball. That's part of our mantra here. It's not like we have, one alpha of what's going on. We play team offense here and read and react, and that's where we're going to continue to do that. So some days, one person may just have a great day, and the next day, he may not. So with that, we're going to continue with doing that. We've got a little bit of more experience down there. A couple guys got some games under their belt last year. And so we're looking forward to seeing Anthony Malika and Trevor Natalie, our captains down that end. And so far, they've done a nice job leading a pretty good group. And
you mentioned those 2 guys, Drew Bogardus, right, had a good year last year.
Yep.
How can those guys take another step offensively?
Yeah, Drew, certainly Drew, nobody knew who he was until he introduced himself to the world. And this will be a challenging year for him because there's no hiding him anymore, right? He had a good year. Everybody knows his name. So it's someone else. Someone has to cover him now. And we are, again, we're looking forward to seeing what he brings in his sophomore year. He's been a little banged up, but he's taking care of himself. And again, he does a really good job of putting himself in position to be successful. Whether the shot goes in or not, that will remain to be seen. But he does a good job without the ball.
So looking at the defense, you mentioned a little bit older on that unit. You have some guys coming back. How do you see things kind of shaping up on that?
Yeah, Will Delaney, Austin Clark, Henry Troy have stood out as older guys. 2 guys are still returning in Henry Troy and Austin Clark. Will Delaney's going to be this is his last year with us. Blake Cooling as the long stick midfielder, Matt Villas as a short stick team midi. So those are 5 guys that have gotten a lot of hours and minutes for us. And so we'll plug in some other ones. We've got 4, 5, and 6 ready to go defensively. We've got Aaron Siebold, who has done a good job, and then a host of other long sticks that are really fighting it out. There's a little bit of depth on that side that we're enjoying, and we just got out of a meeting, and the theme of it was next man up. We're not going to take a huge step back if someone's ill. We're not going to take a huge step back if someone unfortunately gets injured. And if someone's starting to outplay someone, then next man up.
You mentioned before getting better at the face-off X. How can we expect that? Who can we expect to see?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, Chase Patterson was really good for us. And then last year, we got bit by the injury bug a little bit. Bosak went down with an early season ACL. And we could never we fought for a decent percentage, so we were good at the face-off X. Good's not good enough, as we all know, right? You got to be different. With Bosak is back, Cole Meyer is back. We got 2 freshmen. One is Nico Geekus, who plays for Half Hollow Hills West and won a state championship last year in New York. And the other one is Holden Hayes out of Colorado, who's he's a bull in there. So we've got a bunch of different varieties, and now it'll be just kind of honing in what each one of them is great at, and then it's a chess match. What does their player do? And then it becomes, you don't want to use rock, paper, scissors, but it's one of those equations of this guy does this, who's the best guy to go against it, and who are they going to send out against us? So hopefully, our goal is to win just a few more face-offs each game than we did last year. And if that happens, then we'll have to defend less and play more.
Well, non-conference schedule, tough as always. How do you hope that kind of prepares you for when you get into that rock fight that is always the season?
Yeah. I think, life is changing in college sports. I mean, you've got a front row seat to it in every sport of what's going on. And I think people have, really started to look into what do they want out of non-conference. At one point in time is to play anybody and everybody. Some thoughts are to play maybe better teams than ranked teams that maybe are better than the ones at the conference. Sometimes it's, let's not do that and let's get the winning vibe going, or give yourselves a little bit of a chance. And there could be some other factors, who's available, areas of the country, travel, home and away, things like that. We think we put together a decent at a conference schedule. Certainly we're going to get challenged. There's going to be a lot of great teams that we play. And then we hope that we're prepared for when the lights go on, or the conference lights go on, when everybody's fighting for that one coveted spot.
And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, in the CAA last year, obviously you guys started out really strong, stumbled a little bit down the stretch. Yeah. What is the mindset, I guess, kind of going in terms of preparing for the CAA?
We've used that stumble as gasoline for our engines now, and we just brought it up in a team meeting. But you need something negative to fuel you at times. You've heard all the coaches' cliches. You act differently after a loss than you do a win. It doesn't work in my book. Like, I'm almost angrier after a win, because I know what's coming. I know there's 18 or 22-year-old young men down there that are going to read all the social media. They're going to listen to all their family and friends if they had a good game, and my job is actually to prevent them from hearing any of that, and to treat every win like a loss, and try to drill down and find the things that normally would be hidden in wins. Like, how many times do you go back and go, wow, maybe we were just lucky to win. We didn't play as well as we thought. Celebrate it, but let's make sure we treat it like a loss.
What in your mind, as we sit here right before the season, is a key to you guys having a successful year and doing all that?
Decisions. We just talked to our guys about it. The decisions that you make really off the field, but you're going to make 1,000 of them during a game. Can you get to this ball? Did you decide to slide? Did you decide to pass it? Where did you decide to shoot it? Did you decide to be a great off-ball player? What's the decision in the weight room? What's the decision with extra cardio? What's the decision in rehab, or trying to keep your body as healthy as possible? So it's really just about decisions. I know it's not great English, but if we can make better decisions off the field and during practice, then I'm hopeful that it'll drip into those games, because as in conference play, regardless of anybody's conference, it comes down to one or two plays that you could pinpoint if we just made a better decision, or because we made a good decision there. That's why we have a smile instead of a frown.
Last one for you. Obviously, the community always comes out and supports your alumni base. What's the message for the Hofstra community to support this year?
Yeah, we love them. To be honest with you, I'm very lucky to be seated where I am. Hofstra Lacrosse alums, family, friends. The culture of Hofstra Lacrosse is really strong. It certainly shows in a lot of ways. Attendance, our Big Brother program, so financially always helps, to help run our program in a first-class fashion. But they're just there. They're there for support. They understand the challenges, and I couldn't thank our alums any more. Words would not do it justice. For the families, they're part of our culture. We know that there's going to be some families that they would love for their son to be out there more, but they need to know that they're part of our culture, and at some point in time, their son will be out there if they work hard. And as far as the community, again, we're out there in the community. We do a bunch of community service because it's the right thing to do. And in return, the community does support Hofstra and Hofstra Lacrosse, and we can't thank them enough either.
Coach, thanks as always for a few minutes. Good luck this year. We're excited to watch your team play.
Thanks for your time, Kev.
And thanks again to Coach Tierney for a couple of minutes. The Pride season opener, January 31st against Iona. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Blue and Gold Weekly. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Thanks so much for watching, and go Pride.